What's up guys, welcome to today's video. We're gonna be finishing up the Black Z at least enough to get it off the lift. We found out something very interesting. Alberto stopped by to give me a hand since I was having a hard time getting the calipers to work right. And I don't know if you guys will be able to see from this angle, but believe it or not, like the caliper mounting point isn't reaching where the bracket is supposed to be. And I thought maybe I got the wrong rotors or something, but I found out that the calipers I have are actually G35 calipers and they are different than 350Z calipers.
So like Adam was like trying to put this thing on. I was like, wait a minute, this is on reach. I look at the other 350Z and I was like, oh, this caliper looks a lot longer. So I go ahead and like, let's measure the mounting bracket, right? So I'll have it like this. I'll measure from, let's just generic, from here to the other end. It's 2.5 inches, right? Now, Adam had another caliper, which this one seems to be the right one. And you measure from here to here. And it's 2 inches and 7/8, so it's almost 3 inches. It's a big difference. That's why this one was maxing out the rotor on the caliper and binding the rotor, but the bolt holes weren't lining up with the bracket. So now the one that you need is this one. This one won't work. It's too small.
It makes a lot of sense, but for whatever reason, it was super easy, piece of cake on the cream crown. I was like, man, I must be doing something stupid. Maybe I like bolted something on wrong, and I guess I got the wrong calipers. Off to O'Reilly's, gonna go get another caliper. All right guys, we finally got the Black Z off the lift, got the hydro all bled and everything, somehow found the right fittings. The WiseFab's absurd, and we're gonna do a little challenge because I've only got this much space and I gotta do a U-turn. You think it's possible, Alberto?
Let's do it. My car will do it, so you gotta do it. Okay.
Disclaimer, it's gonna rub the fenders because stock suspension and low. It'll be higher. Oh, I can't do it. Almost.
You won't do it?
I think I'll have to make another point turn.
Keep going and see what happens. Keep going a little bit more.
It's not gonna make it.
Just to see how close it was.
I'm gonna back up now.
Oh, but that defeats the whole purpose.
I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. Since I was in a rush last time and I didn't really document it, I want to kind of show you guys how I ended up installing everything that I needed for this rad head unit. Put one in the giveaway car because you guys recommended it, and then I got really jealous because none of our other cars had one, and then this car had a head unit that didn't really work with phones. I'll pull it out and show you why I chose this one again. No sort of hookup pricing or sponsorship from Sony. This is just purely off your guys' recommendation that I found out about these. If you remember that we have that reservoir in there, so this gives us the perfect amount of clearance since it's a double DIN with a single DIN back because we don't have like a CD player or any of that crap. Now I'm not afraid to admit my stupidity and cluelessness, but I honestly thought the main way you were supposed to hook up the harness that comes with the radio was by splicing into the whole factory wiring and everything. That's like the hardest thing to do and very stupid because you end up cutting up all the wires. Companies make adapter harnesses. Duh, I don't know why I never knew this, I guess because I never had to know it. But it will make life so easy. So essentially we just have to splice this into the adapter harness, and conveniently most of the colors are the same. It's pretty universal. To be sure about everything though, we can just use the code inside the manual for the head unit and the code on the back of the adapter harness to match everything up. I went ahead and cut shrink wrap and put it on all the wires just to make sure I wouldn't forget, because it's very easy to forget to put it on until after you solder. Now we will be soldering the connections with this, and some of these. As with everything, I'm sure there's gonna be some like professional audio guys out there that are gonna say something along the lines of I'm messing up the frequencies or something by soldering the wires, then I should use crimp connectors, or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. I just know from my personal experience that I suck with crimp connectors, and I don't really care if I mess up the sound waves and Taylor Swift's voice sounds a little bit higher or something. I know that's not what's gonna happen, but if I solder the connections, I know they're not coming loose, especially in a drift car. Or maybe that's worse and crimp connectors are better. But that's probably if you're good at crimp connectors. There's a green wire for the head unit that's supposed to go to the handbrake to tell the car that you're in park for accessing some of the functions, but we don't really want to do that in case we want to watch movies while we're drifting. So we're going to twist that together with the red wire, which gives it the signal to turn on, so it will think that the parking brake is always up, so we can always watch movies. So I have the red and the green wires twisted together, as well as a pretty long stripped wire on the adapter harness side. We're going to cross them together like this, just like so. Give it a good pull, make sure it's tight. and we'll just leave it like this. Just kidding. I'm by no means a good solderer. I know you're supposed to like heat the wires up and like feed it up from the top, but that never really works that well for me. So I end up just kind of like globbing it on and just kind of like going over it and making sure that the solder is really, really like full and everywhere that it's supposed to be. I'm very much so a novice at this. Feel free to give me feedback and criticism. I'm always looking for input on how to get better at doing things, and soldering is definitely something I'm not very experienced at. One thing that does make life much easier, if you've never used wire strippers like this, they're the best thing in the world because you don't have to worry about like messing up the wire or accidentally cutting it or anything. You just kind of pick the point, squeeze it, and it will just perfectly pull off the sheathing or whatever it's called, and look at that. Just nice and easy. Because that car has the Bose system, it's actually super simple. We don't even have to solder any of the speaker connections, so it saves a ton of time because it's just RCA right into the back of the head unit, since the car has its own amp in the trunk. I will note there are a couple things that are a little confusing with this. I did try to use the factory ground before. It doesn't really work well, so I ended up just soldering all the grounds together, and then I'll have an external ground that I'll put like to the shift boot, or just like a good chassis ground that's already grounded. And then I just don't put the radio signal turn on thing that like makes the antenna go up to anything, because I don't even know what I'd put that on. Does people still listen to radio? I don't think so. And obviously, since we have shrink wrap, we'll just heat them up, get them all pretty, and then pop it in the car. I actually really enjoy just kind of taking my time and just making nice connections. It's very satisfying, so long as it all works and turns on when I go to try it. Looks like it's powering on. I've got the ground right here. The previous owner had the ground like up here, but I didn't really like that because it was kind of hard to like get it finagled in there. But we got power to the head unit. Now time to just see if it works. There's even enough room to tuck the white little climate control box up underneath the radio, and it just kind of chills in place there. Now what I'm going to do with the center console is what I wanted to do with the giveaway car, but I didn't know whether the winner would have an Android or an iPhone, so I wanted to do it for the right cable. But I'm essentially going to drill a hole in this little cubby, and then we'll have it basically wired up so I can just easily use an iPhone and just leave it in here. Finally got everything together. The only thing that kind of sucks, it was cracked before and damaged, so it's not like I did this, but all this is just like garbage. All the mounting points for the gauges are cracked, so I need to get one of these new pieces because it looks pretty terrible, and the gauges are just kind of like resting there, which is very sketchy. But I'm very happy with how the hydro came out. Unbelievably clean. What I did was run the wire for the USB through the center console. In here I have it, and then I have like a little grommet on the wire so it can't like fall through, even though I'm sure it won't anyway. But that'll be super convenient. We can watch movies while we're drifting. I'm so happy to have it done, but I'm like too lazy to get up. It's just so comfortable in here. I really don't like this handbrake. This grip doesn't really feel nice. Like I'm not gonna be able to just quickly just grab it and fit my fingers into all these slots. It kind of looks a little dainty for me. So I'm probably gonna order the other one that they make that's just a fat bar that I could slide a grip on or something. I tried it because I thought it looked cool with the gold, but it ended up looking pretty bad, but that's okay. I was able to score a black bumper. It's a DE bumper and it doesn't have a grill, which I don't really care about, but it's already got a lip. Could use a little bit more double-sided tape. But other than missing a bumper bracket on this side, I needed a bumper so the car could pass inspection. So now it's actually looking like a car again. Look at that, 350Z. Wow. Hood's got so many chips in it, it's ridiculous. This looks like the same KBD lip that I have on the cream car. Could probably just put a self-tapper here and not have to deal with any of this double-sided tape anymore. Unfortunately though, it's like kind of coming out all ugly, so I'll have to take it out before I can do that. I don't know if I'll get to it tonight, but instead of going out right off the bat and buying over fenders, I'm gonna try using a fender roller and see if I can just like pull this fender out a little bit and give it a little bit of a flare to hopefully clear the WiseFab front end just in the meantime, so I can be lazy and not have to get fenders and get them painted. If you guys remember, we did a really rad AEM intake on the Nismo 370Z, the one that I drove in Lone Star Drift. Well, anyway, Aaron put me in contact with the people over at AEM, and they were kind enough to send out AEM socks for me to wear while I'm driving this car. I was kind of hoping they'd send me an intake or something for this car, but to be honest, like I can't complain. I'm very happy with these socks, and I actually need socks, so thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And oh wait, dad joke, they sent us an intake and some filters and some filter cleaner. So I figure since I just really did like minor buttoning up stuff, we'll do a little bit of an install tonight. we'll put this on. Should be relatively simple, the same thing that we did on the 370Z. I'm so hungry right now. Some instructions, we're gonna read them this time because last time we didn't and it made the install actually way more difficult than an intake should be. Got some clamps, some hose, one of the intake pipes in a nice dark gray color. The other one. And a filter. And another filter. And another filter. And another filter. And 2 more filters. And a heat shield. And another heat shield. And that's it. Now there's always the infamous debate of whether intakes actually give you any power gains. They're dyno proven, they do give you power gains. They also sound great, but you reap the most benefit when you couple the intakes with a tune. And Martin is going to be tuning this. He advised to have a solid intake setup and the most free-flowing exhaust as I possibly can, which makes sense. I'm shooting for like 320 wheel. I don't know if that's realistic given the bolt-ons that I have on this car, but it'd be pretty rad to make 320 like all motor wheel. First thing we'll do is get all this crap out of the way. Strut brace comes off. Pull off the engine cover. I don't think I needed to take that part off, but whatever. Incidentally, as you can see, the intake manifold is plastic on these cars, so you don't want to stand on it. That's bad. Now we can unplug the MAF. Get that out of the way. Got one bolt holding in the air box. One clamp up here. And we've got a hose clamp for this vent that might be kind of tricky to access. Spin it around just with a flathead, just kind of like this. That way we can get in there with some nice needle nose. Good old Harbor Freight, always got our back. It's so nice when you're working with naturally aspirated cars because you don't like have to worry about boost leaks or anything. This airbox should pull right out. Literally the same exact thing as a 370Z. And we shall repeat the process over here. This is gonna be like the quickest install I've ever done on anything. I feel like we struggle with the 370Z for some reason. Maybe there's a lot less space. Maybe we left the strut bar on or something. Looks like this car actually had some nice filters in it already, huh? There's little inlet horns in here that it says to remove. Little flathead will, or your fingernails, will pull these little clasps right out. And then I think we should be able to just wiggle it through the bumper. There we go. Well, this is a bit different than the 370. It wants us to remove the bolts for the AC line brackets. Maybe we'll be replacing them or something. So these brackets are all loose. And it said to also loosen, I have no idea why, the bolts would hold the fan to the radiator. Passenger side gets this heat shield now. It's sturdy. I can see why we removed those bolts, because this is going to bolt right there too. So we remove this rubber piece that the intake sits in on this side, and I'm pretty sure that this basically just goes underneath all the existing bolts, and everything is just going to bolt right on top of it. So we put the radiator screws back in. No idea what the deal is with these things, but apparently they're called Venturis. I was a little bit confused at first because I was like, what the heck's a Venturi? And then I read the manual and that's what it is. Time for a quick dinner break. Nicole, dinner check.
All right, we got barbecue chicken. We got corn on the cob, but it's off the cob. Baked potato and milk.
I cut the corn on the cob for Nicole. It's like my favorite thing in the world when it clumps up together like this.
Is it gonna taste any different?
Yeah, it's the best. Popping in the MAFs real quick, making sure that the place where the air gets red is facing this direction. My only complaint with this intake system is just that the clamp that it comes with for this hose isn't the right size. It is a little bit too small, so it's very difficult to get on. So I ended up having one laying around. So that's my only advice to you, is maybe have a few extra clamps on hand. Other than that, everything fits up very nicely. Thinking to connect this hose, it might be easier to just unbolt that. So we have a little more room to work. Push this on. We can put this right on the throttle body. And everything from here is pretty self-explanatory. Just gotta tighten clamps. Put the nut on where it mounts to the heat shield down here. We'll slide the filter right on. And we'll plug in the MAF. We're good to go. So one little clip for this to kind of pop in. I'll just put everything back together. So here's the finished look at everything installed. Looks very nice. However, we're not completely done yet. If you do notice in here, because I don't have the fender liners, we do have a big open area here that goes right down to the wheel well. Got a lot of open area here. And if you're familiar with drifting, there's a lot of dirt and debris, water, and everything getting kicked up right by that filter. I've never used these before, but AEM recommended them if we're using their filter setup for drifting. So this will basically help keep a lot of the debris from getting clogged in the filter element, which I do have the issue of on my car. It'll be interesting to see how it works, and it does repel water a little bit as well. So I believe this just goes over like a sock. Yeah, we heard you like filters, so we got you a filter for your filter's filter. All right guys, it's getting kind of late, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. Tomorrow we do have some other cool stuff that I might be installing on the car. More gold stuff, see if you can guess. Also, I think tomorrow I'm gonna give a shot at rolling the fenders. I wanted to do it tonight, but that's the type of thing where if I rush it, I will do a very terrible job. So I really don't care about these fenders. They're already kind of like messed up and scratched up, and I'll probably do over fenders in the future. So I'm just gonna try to get as much of a pull as I can out of them. My goal is gonna be to maybe get them out to here, maybe add like an inch of pull. That would be very rad. So I hope you guys liked my video. I'm gonna get some sleep and then make another video. Thanks. You guys are awesome. I'll see you tomorrow.